True Name Nemesis, and then the Humiliate gets destroyed, the True Name Nemesis is just without a name, right?
Yes, because it's no longer having come into play. Bauman starts off with a turn 1 Plains. Greg with a turn 1 Delver of Secrets off an Underground Seed. That is met by Daze.
This is a very legacy way to start the game.
Yep. 1 and 0 mana pieces of relevant disruption.
A 3/2 flyer for 1, a 1 mana kill any spell, a 0 mana counter spell.
Turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic.
Uncounterable, possibly?
We will.
He did name Artificer.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, one of core Artificers, the Stoneforge Mystic's 2 best creature types.
Yeah. So David deciding what he wants to get, decides on Batterskull. And this is going to be a really quick test for Greg. Delver of Secrets flips on the upkeep, revealing Spell Pierce.
Disfigure sure would be good, and it looks like he actually has it. Good for him. I love to see somebody who plays a card like Disfigure in Legacy actually get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Disfigure and 2 damage or -2/-2 effects. Very good in Legacy, as so many of the critical creatures are 2 toughness, whether it's Delver of Secrets or Stoneforge Mystic or Deathrite Shaman, a number of them. So
yeah, people used to play Dismember a little bit more, but the realization eventually came, you know, outside of a Tarmogoyf, what is Dismember even killing? Like literally everything is a 1 or 2 toughness.
So David plays a Rashad Import and passes the turn. On the upkeep, he's attempting to plow the Insectile Aberration. We'll see if Greg tries to fight over this. He says no. And now I believe we will see a Rashad Import as well. And this is one of the elements we were talking about, that mana denial is potentially really rough. That Rashad Import activation is going to prompt Greg to respawn with a Brainstorm.
Greg, full of options, but as we've seen all top 8 long, David Bauman putting people in a bind.
Yeah, that is what the Death and Taxes deck does. It's usually not one individual card. The only thing that really does that, Stoneforge Mystic, occasionally Mother of Runes. Usually it's the entire Buffalo being used.
Shout out to Mike Flores, who uses that expression roughly 6 times per year.
Greg plays a Wasteland to take care of the Rashad Import.
So I like this, fighting fire with fire. You know, you're going to tap my mana? Let me just show you some things.
I think we may need to do a quick check here, because Greg, because of all the brainstorming that occurred inside the upkeep, may have actually forgotten to draw for his draw step because of the awkward timing. Aether Vial to play from David. And passes the turn. Misty Rainforest from Greg. Saxon, I think we might see Dark Confidant.
Would be very strong. Gives him something to do. It's kind of a step up, you know. He already has a little bit more mana because of being able to get rid of that port. Dark Confidant would actually start getting him some kind of a real advantage. What David needs to do is get down some kind of a clock, something real.
Yeah. And David has already used up 2 copies of Swords to Plowshares as well, so he's a little light on answers to this Confidant. David plays Phyrexian Revoker.
What do you name here? Because this is not a Jace style.
Liliana the Veil, which there is 1 copy of in Greg's deck. The only card in the name deck that can be named profitably by Phyrexian Revoker.
Yeah, I mean the only alternative is Deathrite Shaman, but even but I guess Deathrite Shaman is just too low impact in this position.
Yeah. But this unchecked Dark Confidant, really problematic. We saw this, the game that David lost against Jun. Dark Confidant was critical in being unchecked and just generating so many resources.
Yeah, Dark Confidant, not a bad card in Legacy. That is for certain.
Greg ponders, just keeps the cards as is, plays a Deathrite Shaman, passes the turn. David untaps, takes the Vial up to 2. Sends in with the Revoker. I would imagine Greg is likely to let this one through.
But you can never be sure. I mean, he's got a lot of life to work with.
And may have Liliana in hand, but decides to let it through.
Yeah, he wants the mana from the Deathrite Shaman.
So David fighting an uphill battle now. Uses a Wasteland, takes care of the Bayou.
Because, I mean, that's the way this Bug Delver deck really wants to be operating, is put down something that's generating an advantage, and then just hang out. Both people just smashing cards into each other.
So,
But Mitchell with extra cards from Dark Confidant.
with the Confidant trigger on the stack, David attempts to activate Aether Vial. We'll see what occurs here in response. Greg adds a mana with Deathrite Shaman, correctly anticipating that Phyrexian Revoker could be the card vialed in. And Abrupt Decay is the Revoker. Now the Confidant trigger will resolve.
Well played by Mitchell.
Reveals Abrupt Decay. Now, keep in mind as we go through all this, Greg's generating a huge advantage right now. He does play one main deck copy of Tombstalker, which could potentially give David a backdoor out here through the Dark Confidant.
It looks like it might be in his hand already, though.
Oh.
Not sure. I do know that he's missing his land drops. He's got a lot of advantages, but he doesn't have a lot of lands.
Another Phyrexian Revoker.
We're going to see this Revoker on the Deathrite Shaman.
Dark Confidant reveals Delver of Secrets.
Still no land.
These decks aren't fairly land light,
Oh, for sure.
They have Deathrite Shaman, they have a lot of cantrips, so there aren't that many actual land cards in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the match go teeter-totter back and forth, even with cards as powerful as Legacy. Here we see Death and Taxes frustrating the Bug Delver deck. I don't care about the quality of your cards. I don't care how many mythic rares and dual lands and power cards from back in the day you have. I'm going to play a bunch of annoying, disruptive dudes. Well, kind of like weird little mechanical things and various ladies.
Yeah, not really dudes so much.
Yeah, not a ton of dudes. I guess Ramaz is a dude. He's kind of a bro.
All right, so Delver of the Secrets comes down for Greg, and in a turn, David vials in Aven Mind Sensor. Trying to go on the offensive, can't really win this game long term, so he's got to start getting his beat down on. Sends in a Phyrexian Revoker and an Aven Mind Sensor.
Presumably the Revoker that has named Liliana, as he wants to continue to deny Greg Mitchell any Deathrite mana.
Yeah, I'm sure he wants to hang back with a Revoker that is set on Deathrite Shaman. Deathrite Shaman is going to trade with a Revoker. And David passes the turn.
Time to choose the stacking.
Points to Delver first, then Dark Confidant.
Yeah, this is kind of the hedge, like if there's a spell on top, you'll get to flip your Delver, even though you'll take damage. But if you're stuck drawing a land so your Delver doesn't flip, at least you don't take any damage from the Dark Confidant.
Yep.
Smooth out the variance a little.
Less polarized. Greg finally picks up a Polluted Delta here, a second land. Just choked with cards in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, the Death and Taxes approach, yeah, you can draw all kinds of awesome cards. It's going to be real inconvenient for you to try to play them.
So he sacks the Polluted Delta into the face of the Aven Mind Sensor. Does not find a land.
Devastating. Absolutely devastating.
And if you're Greg, this has to be incredibly frustrating. I mean, he's getting slightly unlucky here, I would say, but I'm speaking more to the combination of cards that the Death and Taxes player is applying here, shutting out mana in so many different ways.
This is quite a beating. This is just so much little annoying edges where it's like
excruciating.
all these little things. It's like, just stop messing with that. Stop. Stop.
And a turn. Flicker Wisp.
Flicker Wisp could have could have pulled off quite a variety of different tricks. Instead, he just wants to do the beat downs.
Yep.
And I don't blame him.
At this stage of the game, he has a lot of attacking in the air, and that Dark Confidant's also threatening Greg as well, so I like it. And here's a sword. And that's going to be hit with Daze.
The problem with this, of course, is that Greg is getting locked out of having any mana at all.
There's a force of will off the top to Dark Confidant, and Greg just kind of dies to this random litany of nonsense. David Bauman up a game. Yeah. Incredible. That is the highlight reel Death in Texas game right there. We're going to be coming back to the booth here momentarily. Patrick Sullivan, Patrick Chapin, Star City Games Legacy Finals. We have a trivia contest, and this is going to be the first time this weekend. Yeah, we do. It's going to be the first time this weekend that I'm going to ask the question. So tweet that answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium.
You can actually ask him the question?
I am. One winner will be chosen at random for a full year of Star City Games Premium content. The question is, where are we going to be next weekend? We have one more open series to go before we head to the Season 1 Invitational in Charlotte. Name that city. I'll be doing that show with Cedric Phillips. I'm very much looking forward to it. A little hint here that it's relatively close to where I live. So if you're familiar with that, that's helpful. You can also go to the Star City coverage page and find that as well. So tweet.
Flint, Michigan?
It is Camden, New Jersey was the answer we're looking for. Tweet that answer at SCG Live, hashtag
Not
SCG
really
Premium.
New Jersey.
No, it's not happening there. And one of you will be chosen at random for a full year of Star City Games Premium content, including a lot of quality content from this gentleman right next to me.
Sweet, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's true.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah, I know. So going to the sideboard here, let's check out what each player has in the store. I got Greg's list in front of me. We got a Sylvan Library, an Abrupt Decay, a Disfigure, an Envelop, a Flusterstorm, a Force of Will, 2 Golgari Charms, a Crozan Grip, a Spell Pierce, 2 Surgical Extraction, a Vendilion Click, a Liliana of the Veil, and a Maelstrom Pulse. I like additional removal spells against this creature deck. I like the Abrupt Decay. I like the Disfigure. The 2 Golgari Charms can do a lot of work.
And the Maelstrom Pulse even.
Yep, Liliana of the Veil, Maelstrom Pulse. I think these cards are all live. I think that he wants to shave out some amount of his either counter spells or Hymn to Thorax. I don't think are really that well suited for this kind of fight, but additional removal spells are quite valuable.
Yeah, on the other side, David Bauman has access to, I guess, Spellskite right off the top could potentially be, like it moves Disfigure around, makes removal a little harder, but I don't know if you want to lose the pressure. Oblivion Ring is a sideways answer to something like Tarmogoyf. Pithing Needle is kind of a sideways answer to something like Liliana. I think for the most part, you want to just not disrupt your core game plan. If anything, Cataclysm is your man.
I believe so too. We also saw David do some real damage against Jund with the Rest in Peace, specifically answering Tarmogoyf and Deathrite Shaman. Wouldn't surprise me to see him go there. I do agree
Even
with
the
you.
backdoor on Tombstalker.
Yeah, I do agree with you in principle. I think David's core game plan a lot more powerful than anything he really has access to in the sideboard.
Yeah, and we saw last game why Greg only plays 1 Dark Confidant.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it was not very good for him that game. That's why you only play the one. The second one would have been even worse.
You know what I like is 1 Dark Confidant and 1 Tombstalker.
I love it.
Just so you feel something once in a while.
Just every draw step is a sweat.
Not even very many in the tournament either.
Oh, at the Ravnica block, Constructed PT, the team Pro Tour, all the way back in the day, I was our Rakdos pilot, and I had Dark Confidant alongside Hit and Run, and every draw step was chock full of excitement.
Yes, get the blood pumping.
And you didn't even mind when you revealed Hit Run to the Confidant because that usually meant that they were dead.
So we were talking about the 6 or 7 mana channel.
Right.
I think 6 mana channel. I think there are a lot of standard formats where that would be totally fine. It's not even clear to me if 6 mana channel is actually that much better than Hatred, if at all. But I do think that 6 mana balance would not be okay.
Yeah, I think that I think I do like your answer more the more that I reflect on it. I do think that channel has the highest ceiling to be disastrous of a lot of cards that have been printed. As a lot of times it is just win the game depending on what cards are surrounding it, especially if things like Eldrazi or good X spells are floating around. But I think the average standard format would probably be damaged more by a 6 mana balance than a 6 mana channel.
Because first of all, it's like Wrath of God Mind Twist so often. But then also, if you ever have any artifacts, enchantments, planeswalkers, anything that dodges it, don't even get me started on artifact mana,
Right. I played plenty of pickup games when I was a kid, where Revise was the most recent set and Balance was heavily involved. And even given my really rudimentary understanding of power level, I could detect that something was not quite right with Balance.
I love the ultimate irony.
The
in
name be damned. There was something not quite right.
Yeah, I remember when we used to be able to play 4 balances in tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's like this is just not a realistic world that we live in.
Yeah.
It's just balance.
That was a little bit before my time. When I started playing in tournaments, Balance was restricted at that point.
Oh yeah, balance wasn't even one of the first restricted cards. That's the crazy thing. It took people a little while to figure it out. You know what was restricted before balance?
Probably Dingus Egg.
Dingus Egg.
Because after I've been ice stormed, stoned rained, and sinkholed 1,000
No.
times, I'm really frustrated by the damage I took.
No, you know why they banned or why they restricted Dingus Egg?
I don't really know.
Yeah, because the Dingus Egg balance deck.
Oh, okay.
You just like you're just playing.
It's really good to see them get to the root of the problem, which was Dingus Egg.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, when you're just playing tons of moxes and they're like, well, balance. I guess you have no cards in hand.
Listen, Magic has a long history. Players, back in the day, old R&D teams, whatever, of focusing too much on the card that was literally dealing lethal damage and not the cards that set up that sequence. So Dingus Egg Balance is a great way of contrasting. Well, I know that you literally, the Dingus Egg dealt you lethal. I get that that's what happened here, but I think that that's probably not what the root problem is here. I think it's the Mind Twist, Wrath of God, Armageddon Fuse card for 2 mana. That probably had more to do with it. But who am I to say,
Oh, yeah.
The Dingus Egg did deal lethal, Balance did not, so.
Oh yeah. I mean, those were the good old days.
The problem isn't Ponder, Mana Leak, and Snapcaster Mage in the same standard format.
It's Delver of
Secrets.
Secrets. Delver of Secrets.
We have a long history of doing this. We'll continue to do it until, that instinct is going to outlive me, I'll tell you what.
Oh my gosh. You know what the first restricted creature was?
Is it Kurdape?
It was
Juggernaut?
Ali from Cairo.
That's a great choice. Greg starts off with an Underground Sea and a Deathrite Shaman. David with a Cavern of Souls and a Mother of Runes.
This game much better for Greg, being on the play and starting with his big opening of Deathrite Shaman.
Though
David has benefited tremendously from being the first seed.
Oh yeah, yep. Cavern on Human here, and I think for as good of an opening as this is, if Greg doesn't have access to a removal spell for this Mother, things get really dicey. He does have Lily on the Veil, great opening, great start. But
Oh, you're talking about the best possible situation for him, of like even conceivable.
It's up there. It's pretty high on the list.
What is David got to do to actually start turning this around?
Just start playing some creatures here. Liliana isn't going to run away with the game all by itself. It's certainly not good for David, but another Mother of Runes. I would certainly never claim this is ideal for David, but he's got some time. But if Greg starts supplementing this Liliana with additional removal spells, then it's big time trouble. Wasteland from Greg takes care of the Cavern of Souls. Hymns David, really running him out of resources.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to put David down to just 1 card in hand. No, I'm sorry, 3 cards in hand, but with only 1 mana. The upside, though, for David, his Mother will be turned on.
Yeah. Discards Horizon Canopy and Flicker Wisp. Removes the Horizon Canopy. Oh, brutal. Disfigure. That's the last piece of the puzzle.
Wow, had everything.
Had it all.
Yeah, man, I know David's got to be wishing that Greg had not just disfigured his Mother like that.
Yeah. Then he would actually have something to work with, some upside, but now he's just been wiped clean.
David down to very few cards in hand, very little mana. He does have Rest in Peace, though, which means at least the Deathrite Shaman is turned off.
Yeah. It's not actually a horrible start from David. The Liliana is still a huge long-term problem, but Sylvan Library. And this is really curious because that's not a card I would have really expected to stay in here or provide much value, but given how slow and grindy the pacing of this game is, how card advantage oriented it is, Sylvan Library, an incredible draw for Greg.
Absolutely, and it looks like Greg now able to skip the Wasteland to the top. How many cards will he draw? He decides to Necro for 1 extra card. Normally, Deathrite Shaman plus Sylvan Library providing a very powerful 1-2 punch. Rest in Peace ensuring that the Death Ray Shaman can't actually gain any extra life.
But this is still quite bad for David.
It's not good.
It's not good. Another Death Ray Shaman added to Greg's board. That's met with Swords to Plowshares.
So the problem here is that David doesn't have any mana or cards in hand. It's the main problem anyway.
Yeah. The issue with the game right now is it's not clear that it's not clear that David is participating.
Well, he does have a Rest in Peace.
Yeah. He buys him a lot of time.
Yeah, it means that Greg is going to get to enjoy it.
Really savor it. Breathe in deep. Really just kill him 1 point of damage at a time. Plus is the Liliana. David has to discard the last card in his hand, which is Stoneforge Mystic. He doesn't have the mana to...
Dude, Liliana is a
Yes.
card designed for Legacy people. I mean, it's good in every format, obviously, but like, I like the incremental. Like, we're just manipulating resources. It's got lots of different ways you can play it. There's lots of lines, and the other person is just going to be crippled and unable to play a game of Magic because
Right.
Liliana is just doing her little thing where she puts her hand on their eyes and like the purple vein type curse thing, the veil curse thing is spreading.
It's a planeswalker that you don't always plus, and that is as legacy as it gets.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I just don't do anything at all. Liliana and I just hang out. No rush.
Yeah. I'll tell you which planeswalker I don't plus. Sarkhan the Mad.
I do not plus to Balt. Liliana pluses up to 6, gets rid of the Ratchet Bomb that David's brought in.
You're such a red player. You would totally plus to vault before you plus Sarkhan the Mad.
Another land here for Greg. Pluses the Liliana yet again, so he can ultimate Liliana with some backup. Keep the Liliana going.
So the good news for David is that he doesn't have very many permanents to sacrifice to the Liliana.
He has really done a great job of playing around Liliana's ultimate by not having permanents.
But no, in all seriousness, though, Aether Vial is actually tremendous here.
Yeah.
Like, that's the actual best card David could have drawn there because it means that it is possible that he actually can mount a comeback even if he loses all the rest of his permanents. Both of them. Does Greg even use Liliana?
Why
Yes,
not?
he does sides too.
Sure.
How much you want to bet that the Rest in Peace and Plains end up in the graveyard?
I don't know. The problem is the Rest in Peace is still kind of valuable as so many of Greg's draws get better once it's no longer in play.
Well, I assume he's not going to put the Rest in Peace with the Aether Vial.
Yeah. And David says, "Yep, don't need that." Now Delver.
You talked me into it.
It does feel like the Aether Vial is the most significant of the 3 cards. Probably the split there is.
Could be the psychological edge.
Hymn to Torak revealed, just in case David had some grand ambitions of having a resource at some point in the game. Insectile Aberration across for 3. Cast a Tarmogoyf, pluses Liliana, it's Bermaz.
Yeah.
Wasteland off the top. David does a little sarcastic dance.
Doing a little check. Looks like Tarmogoyf still a 0-1. What
Yeah.
do you know?
Count up both graveyards. Okay, neither player has a graveyard. Okay,
Okay.
it's a 0-1. Good looking out.
Yep.
So now, Sylvan Library. Greg really just looking for a way to either blow up that Rest in Peace or get additional pressure in play.
I think he would settle for blowing up the Aether Vial if it was.
That'd be fine too.
Yeah. Sylvan Library, giving him a lot of selection. As soon as he finds a few fetch lands, he'll have a fresh look.
And Greg so far ahead on resources here. He's going to Wasteland David's Wasteland. This allows David to Wasteland something else in response, but Greg doesn't really need the mana.
Looks like he's wastelanding Liliana's face.
Or Sylvan Library, something else.
Greg showing that he just does not give a care.
Plays another Liliana.
Just to upgrade the loyalty. Shorty, let me upgrade you.
Pluses Liliana again, and he is now done.
David's starting to get into the space where he has to decide, am I going to try to vial down a Sarah Avenger, or am I vialing down a Flicker Wisp? Which card am I going to draw off the top?
All right.
Says no guts, no glory. Goes to 3. Passes the turn.
Sylvan Library again. I'm actually a little surprised given how, how crippled David's board is, that Greg has been a little more aggressive trying to Sylvan Libraries, looking at these same hymns over and over again.
Well, he keeps having to discard his cards, and I think he doesn't want to lose it, but why not get that hymn to Turok out of the way?
Right.
Even if you have to discard it, get her out of there. Liliana goes up again.
His Mother of Runes.
Mother Runes. Liliana hasn't ultimated in a few turns.
I wouldn't worry about that. I think, does the Delver kill him before we go ultimate here with Liliana?
Knocks him to 5.
Yeah,
Liliana will be at 6. Delver knocks him to 2, and then Liliana might as well ultimate.
Another Delver
Oh,
Secrets
because he
of-
kept those hymn to Turoks on top. Shot import, I think. I'm starting to think that Greg's going to tie it up.
reveals him. That's 6 points in the air.
They go to game
with
3.
No meaningful permanents in play, and he is defeated.
Sick.
That was an incredible opening by Greg. For as unfortunate as game 1 was for him in a lot of respects, looked like he was pretty comfortably ahead if he drew a reasonable mixture of mana and a couple kill spells, and ended up dying to, his own kind of land screw, revealing a Force of Will to a Dark Confidant, all that stuff. Can't really complain about how luck is broken for him now after that second game, where his opening was as good as it gets.
Man, if I could just balance for 6 mana.
Yeah.
I even think balancing for 7 mana would be.
It would probably be a 1 or 2 of, and decks a lot
People
of them.
play Fated Retribution.
Yep.
Imagine if you could just play balance.
Well, it would not be a combo after you Revelations because your opponent has no hand and you have 10 cards. So it's not
a much better Wrath against Revelation
sure this is
than
true.
most Wraths.
Fated Retribution synergizes a little bit better with Sphinx's Revelation.
How much would you pay above retail for a Black Lotus? And I'm not talking dollars, yo.
Just how much mana?
Yep.
Well, Gilded Lotus is kind of fringe playable in standard around 5 mana.
But you get to keep using it.
Right. I would say for 3 mana it would have a home somewhere.
See, I don't think it would be desirable to print for 3.
Oh no, I think it would be a huge risk.
Yeah,
Also because of planeswalkers, just fast planeswalkers really can set the pacing of the game way off.
Yeah, I think it would be too good to print at 3. I don't think it'd be good at 4 necessarily, but I think Black Lotus would be too good at 3.
Yeah, a lot of the cards occupy that weird space of too
Yep.
good for X and too bad. Not the too bad's really thing, but for X+1. Not a tournament viable card at X+1.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. I think that it would be fringe. It wouldn't be good, but it could be a fringe card for 4 mana.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why Wizards hasn't jumped at the chance to make a Black Lotus for 4 mana worse. I do like, though, that they went out of their way to do Black Lotus and then make a fixed Black Lotus in the form of Lion's Eye Diamond, where you also have to discard your hand, which also was so broken it had to get errated and it had to get restricted in Vintage, and so they had to do a fixed Lion's Eye Diamond where they now got rid of the Black Lotus part of it.
Well, in fairness,
One with nothing.
Lion's Eye Diamond, in part, was busted because of some nonsense going on when the 6th edition rules changed.
Oh, for sure.
It wasn't
No,
intrinsic to Lion's Eye Diamond.
It still is. Like, even now, the card is still restricted. And the rules are not an issue. It's just that powerful because it costs 0 mana and makes 3.
Yeah, that's really the lesson here is when Lion's Eye Diamond got printed, it was a joke. It was like the joke rare in Inquest and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of types of effects that get much more powerful as the card pool expands. Things that generate extra mana, chief among them.
Although I will tell you, even though they said it was a joke, at no point was it actually a joke. The joke was that somehow you could just play with Lion's Eye Diamond, and you could play with Mana Crypt, and you could just play with Mana Vault, and it was just this weird world where people just thought this was like Magic the Gathering. This is not real, man.
Well, it's part of the history.
It is part of the history. Actually, Lion's Eye Diamond was the centerpiece of the greatest Magic deck of all time ever since the advent of the 4 of rule.
Is this some memory jar deck?
No, yes, it was, but it was even a memory jar deck during the time period where Lion's Eye Diamond could be used as a Black Lotus because of the messed up rules. As a result, you could just say, I'm going to cast Time Twister, I'm going to use this Lion's Eye Diamond to pay for it.
Right, you could say, I announced my intention to cast
Yep.
X. So it's no longer in your hand or in play or on the stack or whatever. It sort of harkens back to the Wall of Roots being able to make mana in between turns. That was a thing.
Whatever.
That was a thing once upon a time.
Yeah.
You're going to have to believe us when we tell you these rules were things. I
Yeah.
know if you're a relatively...
You can only use it
Magic
once per
player-
turn, and it's between turns, so
Right. I know that if you're a relatively
it's
new
between
Magic
turns, so
player,
no rules.
this stuff just sounds completely unbelievable, but it is a thing that's going on.
Dude, this deck was 4 Lion's Eye Diamonds that were like Black Lotus, 4 Mana Crypts, 4 Lotus Petals, 4 Mana Vaults. Dude, this deck was so good. 4 Tinkers, multiple Yawgmoth Wills. You didn't even play more because you didn't need more than 2. 4 Brainstorms.
That's insane. When I was a kid, the best thing I could find to do with Mana Vault was Air Elemental.
Oh,
So that
no.
deck sounds like a pretty big upgrade.
The entire tournament, 0 games lasting more than 1 turn beyond, I think, 2 people total.
All right, game 3 of the finals about to get underway here. Both players keeping. David opens up with a Basic Plains and an Aether Vial. Only Polluted Delta for Greg. David takes up the Vial.
Aether Vial, just such a huge opening. It's like the Deathrite Shaman for this Death and Taxes deck.
Yeah, and a turn to Thalia, and with no play on turn 1 from Greg, this has the potential to be a really disruptive Thalia.
92% already.
If you can see the percentage on the
That is
screen. tick up.
crazy.
Plays a
If you
bird.
can't see it, adjust your monitor. I recommend unplugging your modem and plugging it back in.
We should actually clarify because we received tweets about this. There actually is not a percentage marker anywhere on the
What are you
screen.
talking about? Wait. No, next to it.
Thalia in for 2. David simply adds another Rashad Port to the board. Greg still with no play.
It's next to the little Thrun icon.
And Tropical Island and passes the turn, and a turn. David activates Aether Vial, puts in Stoneforge Mystic.
Brutal. Yeah, this is a pretty Death and Taxes-like opening. I mean, this is like they've got disruption. You know, the Aether Vial is creating a powerful advantage. But you know what? I can't help but look at this and see Goblin deck. You know, the Aether Vial is acting like a Aether Vial. The Thalia and Rashad Import mana disruption, and then Stoneforge Mystic instead of a Goblin Ringleader or something, you know?
There are some odd parallels. Oh, man, and we see in response to this Verdant Catacombs.
It doesn't stop.
An Haven Mind Sensor.
And we can't stop.
All right, so he's going to respond to the Haven Mind Sensor now by sacrificing the Polluted Delta. So he's at least guaranteed 1 land search, but there are not a lot of hits in this deck. You know, we saw him miss before. A lot of people might say, well, how unlucky is that? There are only 7 actual lands that these fetch lands can find, so.
Man, oh man. So he's got basically right now to play Golgari Charm. Otherwise, he's going to have to just claw. The problem is that even if he gets rid of Thalia or the Aven Mind Sensor, the other one is still disrupting him, and he's getting just torn apart by the Rashad Import mana denial.
Right, so now still in response to the other Verdant Catacomb that's still in the stack, he's going to spend 2 mana to pay for Disfigure through Thalia, and now he can go search for a land.
Death and Taxes doing what they do, building the roads.
Thalia in for 2 more. A second Aether Vial for David.
Mostly superfluous, but it does give him an opportunity to eventually vial down things like Sarah Avenger, which he currently can't cast.
Yeah, getting the 1 vial set to 3 and 1 vial set to 2 is probably the ideal setup here. Allows David to continuously use his Rashad imports to shut down Greg further and also still advance his board.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interaction between Rashad Import and Aether Vial is so strong, not just because the decks that use Aether Vial often make good use of Rashad Import, but also because Rashad Import takes so much mana. Aether Vial is a way to continue to advance your board while you're spending your mana disrupting your opponent.
Yep. So David pays 2 mana for his Aether Vial, Thalia is still in play, and casts Mother Runes as well. This would be a reasonable spot for Golgari Charm.
My mom should totally do a Stoneforge Mystic pose for some picture, for a family picture sometime.
Yeah.
She could totally, the meditative, contemplative, glowing swords of fire thing.
That might be a tough sell. There's a Golgari Charm spending the 3 mana.
Incredible. This is, okay, like all jokes aside, this is exactly how the comeback has to start, right?
Yeah. There's still some other problems here, which is, the equipment is looming.
Oh, yeah.
But that Golgari Charm was, excellent value.
Yeah,
and
it's
now
80%.
Greg is free of the constricting influence of Thalia and all these Rashad imports. He can start casting his spells.
Delver of Secrets flips, as always, this time with Ponder. What's Greg looking for? I mean, he already found his big whammy. What he needs is, I guess just some plan against the Batterskull that's about to
It looks like
knock on his door and say hello.
It looks like he has Crozan Grip in hand, so he's got a good answer.
Beautiful.
At
Wow,
the ready.
Greg is not going down without a fight. He's even got this nice little clock on David.
Yeah, not really a litany of flyers in the Death and Taxes deck. There's a few.
There are a few, and the Flicker Wisp here in particular could be kind of exciting. Wow, it looks like Greg actually has a fair bit of good options.
He's going to start out the action here with a Hymn to Torak. This allows David to put the Batterskull into play, but I think Greg's happy with that. Again, he has access to Crozan Grip, so clear out everything else, and he can start taking over the game from there.
Incredible, 72%. He's clawing his way back.
Oh, I think he's actually under 50. He's now flipped the script. I think he's the favorite.
Yeah, I don't know where they get this algorithm from, but it looks like it's still Bauman by 72 to 28. Interesting. So I wouldn't think that we had the processing power here to calculate that many permutations.
Yeah, it's. Technology is just an incredible thing.
SCG has already announced their quantum computer, right? Or
Shh. Nope, not yet.
Greg, abrupt decaying. It's interesting. What do you think about abrupt decaying the token instead of the Stoneforge Mystic?
It's a little aggressive here. It would be one thing if you were having had some sort of piece of artifact removal in your hand that was, Batterskull could bounce itself, and you might have to worry about it down the line. But with Crozan Grip, it feels like a lock. And if I'm in Greg's spot, I feel like I can afford to take a drain for 4 and leave that abrupt decay back as insurance against something else.
And after David draws a Plains, things slide a little bit more in Greg's favor. He's actually loaded with cards in his hand, some of which actually do something.
And David not porting here, as I believe he just wants to leave up his mana to protect his Batterskull, but unbeknownst to him, that is not going to work.
Greg, actually on the offensive, this is like what you were talking about when you're watching your buddy. He's playing a draft game. He's just getting beat down. He's a little mana screwed. Things are going real bad. He just is fighting. He's clawing to get back in, and there's that turning point, that moment where he just sends his Windrake.
Yeah, and you're like, all right, it's happening.
Yeah, it knocks him from 20 to 18, but you know what? Things are turning. The tide is turning.
Finally punching back. Greg used the Crozan Grip to take care of the Batterskull. David empty-handed, draws Mother Runes and casts it. No answer to the Insectile Aberration yet. Ports Greg a couple times on upkeep.
This is a pretty intense game. I mean, this game was looking like a blowout.
He's going to use it after it gets ported. He's going to Vendilion Click himself, getting rid of a largely worthless Hymn to Torak at this point, looking for a fresh draw.
Yeah, I mean, both players have a lot of things going on. David has Mother of Runes, Stoneforge Mystic, all kinds of vials, and a very disruptive Rashad Import setup. Mitchell, A few more cards in hand, but he's super constricted on mana. He has Vendilion Click in the Insectile Aberration, which is a pretty fast clock, but with so little mana, I think he might be slightly behind still.
And now Insectile Aberration attacks. Vendilion Click cannot, of course. Just freshly summoned.
All of the insects and all of the haste creatures attack, as well as all of his creatures with fear.
And now there's a very large Tarmogoyf.
Wow. A great draw for Greg Mitchell.
Now David in a load of trouble. Before it looked like, you know, Umezawa's Jitte potentially could be a huge draw with between Mother Runes and Stoneforge Mystic, but Tarmogoyf really complicates matters.
Edge appears to have slid it in Greg's favor. The key here is Greg continues to hit one of the advantages of being a blue deck.
The blue cards.
You just kind of, well, you kind of deserve it. I mean, he hasn't cast any of them, but you just kind of, you know, you kind of deserve it.
Yep. So David porting inside the upkeep, trying to keep Greg off of blue mana. But Greg has the mana with his Bayous and Wasteland to cast Liliana of the Veil. And now Greg deciding whether he wants to do, he's going to Edict. That gets rid of Stoneforge Mystic. And now here comes the Flyers. Vendilion Click, Insectile Aberration in. Tarmogoyf 2. Seems needlessly frisky, but
Mother of Runes, snap calls.
I don't believe you. All right.
Which means that Liliana can be killed trivially by the Mother counterattacking.
But
if it comes to that, which might be the psychological edge Greg Mitchell is looking for. And I think that's it, unless...
No, I think the reason is in case that David vials in a flyer there, it's at least some cost for him to get the Mother Runes involved in combat. So that was actually a heads-up attack by Greg.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That is a real smart play. Even, so that's the thing, when you're winning by so much to still make plays like that,
Yep.
That's the mentality of a champion.
And David on 5. Greg with lethal on board.
David's mother, the only thing he has left besides the vials.
Greg's going to start off the turn by taking up Liliana.
We're going to find out. All right, David still has a secret. He has one secret lit remaining. It's got to be either a Sarah Avenger or a Flicker Wisp.
Activates the vial for 3.
It is the
Flicker Wisp.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's a start.
Okay. We got a little something going now.
Now, does the Flicker Wisp block the Vendilion Click?
Ask for how many cards. See, I still think that you can't block here because you have to get Umezawa's Jitte on your Flicker Wisp with Mother Runes back up here. That's your out.
This is pretty intense.
And David,
Plow could be good.
what was it?
Another Flicker Wisp could be good.
Not a good sign there for David that he just had to pass the turn. Because now he's looking down that Liliana. Edict ready to go. We'll see what Greg has in store here. I do like eating. He's going to Thoughtseize first. And in response, David goes ahead and vials in Phyrexian Revoker.
Wow. That's
And
so
that's on
intense.
Liliana.
That was insane.
And that's on Liliana.
Oh my God.
We're starting to claw back here.
That was incredible.
Greg has...
What a maniac to not play it proactively.
Yeah. All right, so he's going to offer up the trade now that he has an extra creature. Umezawa's Jitte still potentially live.
And remind me again about that Delver Secret situation.
It's
Stuck gone? It's not his trigger, though.
Yeah, I think that's David's responsibility to announce.
Yeah, it seems like the Delver has to be in play.
Yeah, to me this feels like it's David's trigger. Or at least it's possible, does it graft the trigger onto the Delver of Secrets, in which case it becomes Greg's trigger?
I'm not sure. We're going to have to get a ruling. Sounds like it's not. My guess is that it's a Flicker Wisp.
Yeah, sometimes the exact language on the cards here influences what happens.
Oh, yeah. Not quite as much as Matt Tabak influences what happens. However, he often goes by the words on the cards.
Okay, the Delver is back. I mean, David's going to need... There's a sword. David's going to need Greg to really miss for a number of turns here. Any spell on top of these Delvers flip and it's lethal. Does not flip.
What a weird game.
Does not flip.
And because of that Delver missing 1 point of damage last turn, David could potentially survive an all-out attack.
All right, Greg's getting in. Tarmogoyf has to be blocked. It is lethal.
Yeah, now, does the Mother Verns have to protect the Revoker? Since it's the only thing that stops the Liliana from just eating the other. It does.
Okay.
It's not over yet.
Mother Rune's down. Delver of Secrets down. David falls to 1. Womp womp. All that. It wasn't a spell, but arguably worse. It is True Name Nemesis. And
David, hoping to draw a different name. So close.
Crazy.
See, what were you thinking it was going to be when it wasn't the spell?
Right. Well, it could have been a land, and then we maybe
No,
got a game
always
going.
see, this is why True Name Nemesis is too good.
I think a number of cards would have been good enough in this spot. Really hard to peg the blame here on True Name Nemesis.
Now, he's got to not joke around, though, because if he shoots the Delver Secrets, he could draw Swords to Plowshares. If he has a creature in hand, he could actually live through the turn.
Yeah.
This is not game over.
We'll see momentarily. This True Name Nemesis is going to be really hard to get out of. Shoots Greg with the sword. Draws off the trigger. It's Rashad and Port. Confirming that David, in fact, does have a name. And that True Name Nemesis has named it. Rashad and Port in the upkeep. Pins down the Underground Sea.
Sending Greg a message, I'm not through yet.
Yeah.
I got triggers.
Yeah. If you want this trophy, you're going to have to drag it out of my cold, dead hand.
I like it. When somebody Rashad and Port showing your upkeep, you ponder right here.
You ponder back.
Yes.
Is Lethal on board? Is Lethal on board? That's fine. I'm shuffling anyway.
Greg, looking for something a little stronger.
It's about who takes, it's not about who wins or loses. It's about who takes the last game action.
This is legacy. Because who the hell knows?
Draws off the ponder. He remembers to attack with True Name Nemesis.
Oh, get some more triggers in.
Just gets, fire off some more triggers, ask for some responses.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a Sarah Avenger. It blocks True Name Nemesis uncontested. And that's going to be a concession here momentarily from David Bauman.
Somebody get the hook.
There it is. Greg Mitchell, 2-1.
Wow.
A great win there. An awesome finals. Congratulations.
What a great match.
Bug Delver, that was a great match. A lot of fun to watch. Two players having a really good time. Great run by David Bauman. Very impressive play during the elimination.